Somewhere out there, beneath the pale moonlight. That's not a bad singing voice. That's how they sing it in the film. Hi, Richard. Merry Christmas, Richard.
Happy Hanukkah, AJ.
And more appropriately, thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the Cole Popture podcast for the first ever film franchise Fortnights Hanukkah special. Every year around this time, because we usually cover different film franchise every fortnight, so every year around this time, we try to cover a festive franchise, Richard. And in the last few years, we've been running out of franchises set entirely during the silly season, and in the last few Christmas holiday specials have been franchises with at least one holiday film amongst them. And this year, Richard, might be our loosest tie-in yet, as we cover the 4 films in the An American Tail franchise, where the first film opens with a brief scene set at Hanukkah, and it is never mentioned again for the rest of the series.
I'm curious, so you started the episode by saying Merry Christmas, and I said Happy Hanukkah. Is it can anyone just say Happy Hanukkah in the same way we say Merry Christmas? I get, because Christmas is so ubiquitous as an idea, whereas obviously a Hanukkah is only celebrated by a certain group of people. But I guess technically Christmas is also, it's just that Christians have just co-opted the entire world for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But is it okay to just say Happy Hanukkah, or does it feel like I'm making fun of it?
Right, yeah, so you're retroactively questioning, did we just say something really offensive? Is it not our right to say this is the film franchise Fortnight's Hanukkah special?
Well, not offensive, but is it just is it like, oh, cool, they're doing a Hanukkah one? Or is it like, are they allowed to do that?
Well, I mean, this episode was announced 2 weeks ago, and no one came to tell us we should.
Yeah, you've had your time to cancel us.
Well, also, we're probably not going to mention Hanukkah again.
Yeah.
After this conversation.
Deletes pages of notes.
An American Tail, for those who are unfamiliar with it, is the brainchild of famed animator Don Bluth, who directed the first film. We've seen Bluth before, as he directed The Land Before Time, a film and franchise we unanimously hated, or should I say unanimously hated, because An American Tail is about mice. Land Before Time is about dinosaurs, so it's not a perfect word play. I would have been better if I said something was unanimously loved or whatever about An American Tail. But Steven Spielberg is also in the mix. He produced the first 2 films. So familiar faces all around. And there'll be a few more potentially throughout as well.
Potentially, oh.
Oh, it's like when something's potentially pretentious. The American Tail films follow the exciting journeys of one Fievel Mouskowitz, a young Russian Jewish immigrant mouse who travels with his family to Manhattan in the late 1800s and gets lost several times along the way. He's always getting lost.
He's always getting into all kind of strange.
The 4 American Tales make up our 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th films we've covered on Film Franchise Fortnights, to mention America in their titles, and the 5th franchise overall after American Pie and American Werewolf in London / Paris, Captain America, and Coming to America.
Wow.
So, howdy, y'all. It's back on our American series. An American Tail, the first film, came out in 1986. As said, it was directed by Don Bluth. What do you think it was rated by critics on Rotten Tomatoes?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I'm going to go 80%.
72%, which I feel like that's all right. I'm not too offended by that score.
It doesn't feel like a personal attack.
No, yeah, totally. Can you tell us in broad strokes what is An American Tail 1986 about?
Well, broadly speaking, it's about the American dream.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
all right, so.
Yeah, there's a family of Russian Jewish mice who immigrate. It's raining so heavy. I don't know if you can hear that, but
Probably rain
it's
happens to be this exact same like timbre
mm,
as static, which audio editing is really
it's
good at
just
cutting out.
fucking gets rid of just like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Mouskowitzes, they leave Russia because it's a shithole, and there's the Cossacks burn down their fucking village, and they go, well, let's go to a place where there are no cats, which is famously America. And they sing this whole little song about how there's no cats in America. Then they get to America, they get split up as well. The family get split up from Fievel, and then they get to
Fievel,
America.
a tiny mouse who falls off a boat into the ocean.
Yeah.
And still manages to find his way ashore.
And then, yeah, they go on. The family goes, oh, well,
Fievel's
no
dead.
son for us. Yeah. And then Fievel is determined to reach his family again. And then eventually shenanigans happen.
He meets 1,000 different background characters.
Most of whom are cats as well.
Yeah.
They're eventually reunited. And then they get separated again. And then they get reunited again.
Yeah.
Atop the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Which is in its original copper color.
There's also a whole storyline about how they're going to get rid of the cats in America. They're going to get rid of all the cats in New York by building this giant machine that's like a legendary scary mouse monster. Yeah. And they scare all the cats into
the legend of the scary mouse monster. It's an old Russian folktale.
What did you think of An American Tail? Had you seen it before?
I swear I must have seen it before. I didn't have much memory of it, but like, I know I've seen little Fievel Mouskowitz in motion before. So somewhere in the back of my mind, I've seen the film. But yeah, it's fun. It's inoffensive. Like, people whose childhood was The Land Before Time, I think, had a shitty life growing up. People whose childhood was An American Tail, it's not bad.
You're all right.
You're all right.
Yeah. I remember seeking this out when I was in high school because I had vague memories of seeing some of the films as a kid. Though in rewatching the sequels, I don't think I had seen them. I didn't have any like enduring memories pop up and be like, oh my god, I so remember this. I think this movie is okay. I'm not in love with it. I remember watching it in high school being like, that was all right.
I think that's the Don Bluth style, to be honest.
Yeah, totally. I totally know what you mean.
Because even like something, like the only Don Bluth film, I think, that I'm just looking quickly at his filmography, that I'm like nostalgic for would be Anastasia.
How crazy is it that Don Bluth also directed Bartok the Magnificent, the straight-to-DVD sequel to Anastasia? I couldn't believe that when I saw that earlier today.
Yeah, and Anastasia is... But even if I were to revisit that, I would probably be like... it's pretty good. The music in Anastasia is really good, is the main thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, American Tail has its fair share of catchy ditties. Somewhere Out There, I think, is a great song made famous for Gen Z, probably through when it appeared in that episode of Community.
No, I guess millennials are from the thing. But
I already knew it when I saw it in Community, so I didn't want to say I knew of it because of Community.
Yeah, I feel like I'm most familiar, I mean, outside of Community, the Linda Ronstadt did a version of it.
Okay.
Well, like the when they do movie songs and they do like a popular artist will do a version of it, and I think Linda Ronstadt and someone else did the version of it.
Yeah,
she's a very good singer.
My flatmates aren't very keen on musicals, and I quite like musicals, and so it's always a bummer.
Isn't one of your flatmates a music?
Correct, and they don't like musicals.
Wow.
And I played them Somewhere Out There as a joke, just to be like, this is the franchise I'm watching this week. And they were hooked on it. And it's because, as I alluded to at the start, they just get the shitty little voice actors to sing it. It's not like a pristine version of the song that plays in the credits. It's these squeaky, no pun intended, like underdeveloped child voices singing the song. And they liked that because it had like a level of authenticity to it and felt true to the characters. You, I think, feel the opposite because you messaged me while you were watching it being like, I can't believe this is the movie version of the song.
Well, it was surprising. Like, just the fact of, like, knowing its reputation from Community and the way people talk about it, you expect this, like, really powerful, like, you know, swelling musical score, but it's just like this off-key, discordant little kid just kind of singing it.
Yeah. I think the part I fall in love with is the line in the great somewhere out there. Like, it starts out as saying somewhere out there, and then at the end they're calling it the somewhere out there. I quite like that. I think that's very lyrically satisfying. Lyrically?
Ooh.
Is lyrically a word?
Yeah, lyrically is a word.
It is? Okay, good. I also find the performances pretty good, quite charming, but I also find the film in general to be more dull than exciting or bright and colourful. I think I respect this film more than I like it, as it's always really fascinating to see a non-Disney animated feature from this era where basically the only animated features were Disney. In fact, according to IMDb, An American Tail was Universal Pictures' first animated feature film since Pinocchio in Outer Space from 1965. The synopsis of which reads, Pinocchio must prove himself as a real boy when he takes off to Mars with Nurtle in the capture of Astro, a flying killer space whale.
I feel like not being a real boy would be advantageous if you're on Mars where there's no atmosphere.
Siskel and Ebert, famed film critics, did not like An American Tail. It just says this film in my notes. I'm like, no, everyone will think I'm talking about Pinocchio in Outer Space if I don't clarify. I'm back to An American Tail. They called it the most downbeat children's movie since Return to Oz. They said it was way too depressing for young audiences, which I understand because for a majority of the film, the parents think their son has died, which is quite
funny.
Both reviewers also criticised how it gave little mention to that the main characters were Jewish, or that the attack on their home...
It only deserves a little mention because they're little Jewish, because they're mice.
Nice. They also talked about how the attack on their home at the beginning was an anti-Semitic attack, and called it a Jewish parable that doesn't want to declare itself, and that it chickened out on its ethnic heritage. Now, Richard, as a Gentile, do you have any thoughts on this argument? Obviously, it's not for us to say. I just thought it would be interesting because this film is both celebrated and, I guess, criticised for how well or not well it represents Jewish folk.
Didn't know what Gentile meant.
Oh, it means non-Jewish.
Well, I would have thought, you know, if you'd asked me what Gentile meant, I would have thought it meant Jewish. Yeah, I feel like An American Tail is a very Jewish film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like explicitly Jewish, you know, the characters and all this stuff. And just the story it tells, I think, is like a parable for many Jewish families, or you know, and ancestries. I feel like, you know, maybe some of this criticism, I feel like we don't get this so much in films these days, that I think we're more willing to accept now that it's like, yeah, it's a story about, you know, what a lot of Jewish people went through, and that like families immigrating to America, but we did it with mice.
Yeah, I think they are coded as Jewish, and I would wonder, I wonder if it'd actually be more offensive to explicitly say they are Jewish mice, because then that brings into question.
Yeah. To be like, yeah, the mice are Jewish, and the cats are Nazis.
Whatever. Yeah. Like it calls it's the thing that people have been making dumb little videos about Pixar's cars for decades now, where it's like, was there a car Jesus? Like if the mice are called Jewish, yeah, is there a mice Yahweh? Is there a, you know, like it brings into question all the stuff that I think doesn't work, and it works better as being like a coded story that can work as a metaphor. But it was not the first piece of pop culture to use mice.
Include Jewish people.
No, that's true. Or use mice as a metaphor for Jewish people.
Oh, yeah, is this mouse?
Miles, Art Spiegelman, who's a graphic novelist, he accused Spielberg of plagiarism due to the fact that the Jews are depicted as mice in the film, just as in Spiegelman's Maus, a graphic novel, a metaphor he had adopted from Nazi propaganda. So he sort of reclaimed that the symbol of Jewish people as mice.
So even mouse wasn't the first piece
I
of pop
guess
culture
not.
to use it.
Instead of pursuing copyright litigation, he opted to beat its release date by convincing his publishers to split Mouse into 2 volumes and publish the first volume before he'd even finished writing the second one. So Mouse came out before An American Tail, but only half of Mouse came out before An American Tail.
Also, it's succeeded in that. Huh?
Yeah.
Have you read Mouse?
I've always wanted to. I got it for my brother for Christmas once. And in my head, I was like, this is such a fucking perfect gift for my brother. Like, I'm so proud of myself. He never commented on it. I don't think he ever read it. If you're listening, Nick, did you read Mouse and do you still have it? Because I thought that was a great idea for a gift.
It's got such a striking title and cover, and I remember seeing it in the library at school, and I was always intrigued by it, but I never read it. First graphic novel to win a Pulitzer.
That's right. That's what that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
I mean, I presume it's good.
Oh yeah, I presume so. I presume so. Yeah, I presume. Originally, the concept of An American Tail didn't start with human-mice allegories, though. Well, maybe it did, actually, but in a more intense way, because it was originally envisioned as an all-animal world, similar to Disney's Robin Hood.
Or Cars, but with cars.
Yeah, exactly. Don Bluth suggested featuring an animal world existing as a hidden society from the human world, like in Disney's The Rescuers, would be better. Do you think this means the humans can see their little hats and their little dressies and their little shoes?
Absolutely. Their wee little boots.
It's not Sausage Party rules where they only see the reality of the world when they're on bath salts. Yeah, because the world in An American Tail is on the bottom of a human tram will be a tiny little box that the mice have their own little tram conductor in, and they have their own little mice newspapers. Yeah,
there's a mouse. There's actually a mouse printing press in the fourth one.
Yeah. The only thing that seems to be a holdover from the human world they live in for some reason is their money is just regular coins, so they'll hand over these gigantic coins to each other when they're paying for something. And I was
so there's no mouse mint. We know that.
Yeah, there we go. But it's so funny because it's surely you would figure this out, mice. You've already figured out newsprint. Can you not figure out how to make smaller coins so you can carry more money with you? One character who appears in all 4 films and played by the same actor, which is a rare thing for these movies, is Tiger, who is a mouse-friendly cat, played by Dom DeLuise.
Lucky that one of the cats was just a massive pussy. And I could say that. Because he's a cat.
Yeah. But I wonder, do you reckon Tiger shows up far too late in this film? I don't think he appears till the start of the 3rd act, and he's such a Robin Williams genie character that it feels like he's supposed to be there from the start. And as I said before, he's one of 1,000 background characters in this film, but one of the only ones that seem to have an impact and stay for all the sequels.
So who's Dom DeLuise?
I don't know. I was hoping you'd know.
Because who's the dad from
Wizards of Waverly Place? Right. That's what I thought as well.
I've also never watched the Wizards of Waverly Place. I just know that David DeLuise.
Yeah, right. They must be.
Oh, he's also in. Wait, no. Who's
Dom DeLuise? This is Charles Rogan.
This
what was his name?
Blowing my mind.
Who was the guy from Beethoven? I'd never heard of him until Beethoven.
Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin, yeah.
Because I see David DeLuise and things, who was also on Megas XLR, which I used to like. But then I keep thinking he's the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. and he's not. And now I'm even more confused.
Which guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Hey, David DeLuise is in Beethoven's Treasure Tale. But
No shit.
he plays Teddy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
But he doesn't.
But he doesn't. Teddy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine is played by Kyle Bornheimer.
Damn.
Oh my god, this is too much.
The web keeps spreading.
Is David DeLuise the guy from 21 Jump Street?
I don't know, dude. I've no idea.
He's in one episode of 21 Jump Street. Who's the other guy from 21 Jump Street? That's not Johnny Depp.
This is all you, dude. This is your little American tale right now.
Yeah, I'm going on a little American tale myself. An American. That's Peter DeLuise, is in 21 Jump Street.
Are all the DeLuises related? That's my
so question. Peter DeLuise from 21 Jump Street is the son of Dom DeLuise.
Right.
David DeLuise,
no relation,
is Peter DeLuise's brother.
So
but it
also
doesn't say Dom DeLuise's. Oh, no, it does, yeah. Okay.
So they are all related then.
There's a whole family of DeLuises, and then there's just a guy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine who I think kind of looks like one of them.
Wow. Cut to credits. Play the...
What? No, play the intro. Because this is all the cold open.
No, it was not all the cold open. We already did one. I'll put it somewhere at the start.
No, you have to put it down.
No, absolutely not.
When else did we throw to it? We didn't.
I'll figure it out, or I'll put it at the start. It won't have a cold.
No, I think...
this is your responsibility, and you're to do it before we get into the movie discussion of the episode.
It's never been...
Well, we haven't established these rules enough yet.
Yeah, we haven't, so it can go anywhere. What's Dom DeLuise's big role, anybody? Where should I know Dom DeLuise from? He has a lot of... He's also in 21 Jump Street. He has a lot of roles. He had a Dom DeLuise show. Maybe that's why he's a household name, but... Yeah.
Now I'm Googling him.
You Google him.
Oh, he's died. Now we can't ask him.
Alright. Okay. Oh, he's often identified for his work in the films of Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder. Okay.
Right. Okay. Mystery solved. I was talking about the overstuffedness of this film with how many characters there are, and it could have been...
There's more characters than there are bloody DeLuises in Hollywood.
It could have been worse, though, as the version of the film that we have is actually a heavily truncated version of the original script, which would have included scenes like the Mousewitzes journeying across Europe to get to... Because they get the boat to America from Germany, but they live in Russia. So we would have seen that scene. There's also a scene, or there was going to be a scene where Fievel sings a song in a sweatshop. These scenes and many more were cut or replaced because the film had almost half the budget of a Disney equivalent. Don Bluth convinced his animators to freeze their salaries for 18 months to try and get it done, which Bluth thought this was worth it in order to work with Steven Spielberg. When trying to...
Spielberg,
Yeah. When trying to... so he had like Bluth Studios, and then he made one called like Sullivan Bluth Studios or something, and he basically like changed companies to make An American Tail. And his new company had a non-union setup, and this resulted in an ongoing battle between Bluth and his old company's union, who were like, you can't just... you can't just pull everyone out of the union. And this battle lasted the duration of the film's production. So it sounds like it was just super unpleasant. I don't think this necessarily implies Don Bluth is anti-union in this specific case, though if he is...
The franchise.
If he is, it would be very funny, because the third film especially... very pro-union, I guess, implicitly. All in all, An American Tail was made on a budget of only $9 million.
Wow, that's more than I make in a month.
And it made $84 million at the box office. However, Don Bluth would end his partnership with Spielberg after this film, so was it worth it? I wonder what he would say about it now. he was not involved with the rest of the American Tail series going forward, and went on to make All Dogs Go to Heaven after this, which is a film, Richard, that has sequels. So maybe we'll see old Don Bluth return.
Wow, and we get drip fed this tale of Don
Yeah,
Bluth
yeah.
throughout the years. I have seen All Dogs Go to Heaven, but again, it's not one I'm necessarily nostalgic for. I just know I have seen it.
Same. There's a Christmas special as well, so maybe we'll do it next Christmas.
Well, you fucking dicks.
According to Wikipedia, Fievel is 7 years old in this one, which would actually make him the oldest age a mouse is usually expected to live to.
Mm.
The second one's set 5 years later, so...
Determined or not, that mouse is long dead.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about regarding the first American Tail film, other than who Dom DeLuise could or could not be, and who's in Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
No, I'm glad I got that out of the
way. Well, before we head on, it is important to ask the age-old question, Richard. Franchise? Why is an American Tail a franchise? What inspired it to become a franchise? What do you think?
I think the Jewish people needed a win.
This was it.
Mm.
There's probably, I don't have an exact reason for why it was green lit, though I imagine it made a lot of money. It was a classic for a lot of people. But a sequel to the film under the working title An American Tail 2 was put into pre-production by David Kirshner in April 1988 after he finished producing Child's Play.
Wait a minute.
We've done that franchise. Announcing the project that same month, he summarized that Fievel will fight the cat till barons. It's like a John Ford Western with Jewish mice. Kirshner started pre-production as Spielberg was setting up for filming for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Wait a minute.
We've covered that film.
I feel like I'm taking bloody crazy pills. You're telling me names of films I've already heard the names of films of.
So Spielberg was attached as executive producer to the film, but he was not involved in the production and or the post-production, which leads the question, which part was he really involved with, other than just slapping his name on it? He later admitted that he disliked the film.
I am curious. Like, I think Spielberg must be one of the most slap my name on it executive producers I've ever seen. I recently spoke to Alison Williams, the executive producer of Megan, and I was like, "What do you actually do?" And she was like, "How funny would it be if I said nothing?" And I was like, well, "I'm not surprised," but no, she's really involved. But when we spoke to Chris Weitz as well, that the role of an executive producer is so malleable. That it is like. I think Spielberg is one that, I mean, it's something like Back to the Future. Even it feels a lot like, and I know he was a bit more involved in that, but that felt like hey, you're my friend Robert Zemeckis. I believe in this project. Chuck my name on it. Say it's got my seal of approval, and then that's going to open so many doors for you.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and I mean, if you've got the clout that Spielberg has in Hollywood. Go for it, use that. But
yeah. I think that's probably there's that Futurama joke as well when it's one of the characters insists that they want to be an executive producer, and they're like, "What does that mean?" And they're like, "It's just a meaningless."
They promote Fry to executive delivery boy.
Right. And he's like, it's just a useless title that people slap on their job title to feel more special. And then the executive producer credit pops up on screen.
Comes up at the same time.
All right, An American Tail. An American Tail, Fievel Goes West, came out in 1991. This was directed by Phil Nibelink and Simon Wells, who would go on to direct several that makes sense films after this, like We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, Balto, and The Prince of Egypt. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes? This was also released in theaters, which the other two were not.
Yeah. What did you ask me, sorry?
What does it have on Rotten Tomatoes?
48%.
It has 57%. What is An American Tail, Fievel Goes West about?
It's been 5 years since they've been in the US. They realized that the US is also a shithole. And so they decide to go to the West where everything would be better.
Mm.
Fievel gets this idea in his head that this dog named Wiley Burp will, help them out. And then, they go west. There's another fight with cats and shit. And then turns out that this old piece of shit bloodhound is actually Wiley Burp, voiced by Jimmy Stewart in his final role, which I'm sure was a fun piece of trivia you had. As one of the only things I knew about this franchise going into it. And then they end up, saving the day.
Yeah, there's a whole subplot you missed where there's like this evil cat voiced by John Cleese that is like secretly wanting to eat all the mice that he's convinced to move out west. It's very convoluted for a children's movie.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
mean,
not too bad.
my explanation of it wasn't super convoluted, but it is. How insane is it that this is the only film that has both Jimmy Stewart and Steven Spielberg's names on it? Like
Wow.
the platonic ideal of an actor and the platonic ideal of a director. Like when you think the Mount Rushmore of actor and the Mount Rushmore of directors, like it would be fine if it's just like, oh, these two people exist at different times, they never got to work together, but they did work together. They do have their name on one project.
Fievel Goes West.
Fievel Goes West.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
I wanted to like it more than I did. I think it's pretty fine, like the first one, but it's. Yeah, and I think I mentioned this last week, but I had such a clear knowledge of this being the fourth one for some reason, and I just thought it was an American Tail, two sequels that I didn't know what they were called, probably just 2 and 3, and then an American Tail Fievel Goes West for the fourth one, and I probably assumed this was straight to video, and that all the sequels were, but yeah, this franchise probably has the interesting distinction of like. I actually can't even remember the names of the other two. Like,
is
we
that
make
a distinction, is it?
We make a point of like quite often, and someone's pointed this out to me before, but we rather than just being like, oh, in Fievel Goes West or in the second one, we will always be like, in an American Tail Fievel Goes West. We like to say the full name of a film.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna struggle for the mystery and the.
I think so. Without looking at them, it's The Treasure of Manhattan Island and The Mystery of the Night Monster, I think.
Yeah.
But I do have the benefit of having written this report, so.
Yeah, but I mean, Fievel Goes West, I feel like is such an iconic subtitle.
It's like the Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit or Electric Boogaloo, well, Break Into Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, because it is like this thing of like, why is the second one a Western? Like,
yeah.
But,
well, I mean, you forget though that like. Yeah, when in the Old West, on the other side of the country, in the Old East, was just like old New York.
Yeah. James Stewart's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Stewart. I mean, he's got one of the most fun voices to do. I'm a dog now. Even though he is very clearly like an aging James Stewart, he's and a lot slower and less kind of joyful from his It's a Wonderful Life days. He's still fun. He's still got a very fun cadence.
Yeah, so as you said, this was his final film role before his death in 1997, so 6 years later. And I wasn't particularly wowed by this film. I feel very similar to you. But Stewart's character says some really touching words at the end of the film, which I've written down here. Fievel
and he
tells
forms
him
them together into a sentence.
and it sounds a little something like this. Fievel tells him, I'm not a hero like you. They're like sitting looking out at the sunset across the Old West, and he says, I'm not a hero like you. Well, no, not really. And Jimmy Stewart, as Wiley, replies, well, maybe not. Maybe a real hero is the last one to hear about it. And he goes on to say, just remember, Fievel, one man's sunset is another man's dawn. I don't know what's out there beyond those hills, but if you ride yonder, head up, eyes steady, heart open, I think one day you'll find that you're the hero you've been looking for. What a final performance. Like, that's the final thing James Stewart said in a movie. as this really beautiful,
Yeah.
eloquent thing. It reminded me of like your thing with Robin Williams at the end of Night at the Museum, how he has this like really touching moment that's in Night at the Museum 3 of all the different movies that he's been in.
But then the final lines he delivered were from that Absolutely Anything movie.
Oh yeah.
Which also starred John Cleese.
Well, John Cleese was paid his lowest fee in 10 years for his role as the like cat capitalist, whatever his name is, which made him very unwilling to publicize his involvement with the film. But I'd bet a lot of money that his fees are a lot lower these days with all the straight to DVD garbage and things that he's in. This is actually the 14th film we've seen / heard John Cleese be in for the podcast. The last time I updated you on the stat was in the Harry Potter episodes, because he played Nearly Headless Nick in the first 2 films. But in case you've forgotten, we've also seen or heard John Cleese in Shrek 2 to 4, The World Is Not Enough and Die Another Day, George of the Jungle 1 and 2, the 1994 live-action Jungle Book, The Great Muppet Caper, and Beethoven's Christmas Adventure. Beethoven and Christmas, common themes in this episode.
I've just found a little article that's clearly been translated. It was clearly written in a different language, and it's French and translated to English. But it says apparently that yes, Steven Spielberg met Jimmy Stewart at a party and asked him if he could play Wiley Burp in this film, and Jimmy Stewart agreed on the one condition that Spielberg would direct his days in the vocal booth.
And that happened, yeah.
No, it didn't. He just couldn't do it. Spielberg couldn't do it, and Jimmy Stewart, I guess, just did it anyway.
I read that he did do it. Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, I think this is a cool idea for a sequel, and I think it's very natural to be like, well, the first one was on the East Coast, let's go to the West Coast, because both had sort of these iconic 1800s, late 1800s settings. I do think it's funny that essentially the same thing happens as what happens in the first one, though. Like, Fievel just gets knocked off a train instead of a boat, and they're like, oh, but in this one, they're like, hey, don't worry, we were sad last time because he thought he was dead. Like Papa Mousekewitz is literally like, don't worry, he'll find us again, just like he did last time. And now he's, instead of like just the streets of New York where there's plenty of supplies, he's in the middle of a desert where he's just gonna fucking bake to death. But for some reason Papa's like, nah, he can do it, it's fine. Well, I guess he's right, because he does find them again.
Yeah, of course, it's bloody Fievel. He'll be fine.
It's fucking Fievel, dude.
It's fucking Fievel.
So while critically this film didn't do too well at the time, it has gone on to develop a cult following. I think plenty of people see this as the best film in the franchise now. It was on a bunch of lists of like best westerns or some shit I was reading, which is really funny.
Best westerns available on Netflix.
yeah, exactly. I liked that it begins with Papa Mousekewitz, who was so hyped to go to America at the start of the first one. Now he seems very disillusioned with America. The film does delve into the mice characters being deceived and exploited by the capitalist cat, but it doesn't quite follow through on Papa's arc here. But it was still, I guess, pleasant that these films aren't just fluffy pro-Americana, look how cool America is. Like, this film and the third film especially acknowledge that the American dream is somewhat unachievable for the working mouse, like it's not it's like how Captain America the Winter Soldier was like, what would it actually mean to be Captain America? And it's not shying away from the true hypocrisies of America. And it's even in a movie from 1991, it's not like they're trying to be like, it's the greatest country in the world. And I really appreciate American media that can be self-critical like that.
Yeah, it is funny that it's like you realize, like, wow, people were critical of America. It's like, of course they were.
in 1991 and apparently 1887, wherever this was said. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before we head into dumb IMDb trivia for Five Will Go?
It might be in the dumb IMDb trivia, but did you come across the hidden penis?
The hidden penis. Let's talk about the hidden penis! My window is open. But it's Sunday, so the kindergarten is out of session, thank God.
It's just Sunday school, the really religious kids that are there.
Yep, so this is directly from IMDb trivia section. Though undetected for decades, there is a, quote, penis doodle hidden in this film.
Have you seen the penis doodle?
I've seen the penis doodle. It is visible in the DVD and VHS versions at the 46 minute 20-second mark of the film when Tanya, who is Fievel's older sister, is singing Dreams to Dream, which is the Somewhere Out There of Fievel Goes West.
Dreams to dream.
A penis doodle appears, and appears has an apostrophe before the S, bafflingly, even though it's just a word. It appears in front of her face for one frame. It is very obvious that when the animator was tracing Tanya from the animation paper onto the cell paper, he messed up her nose, muscle, and mouse teeth, turning the cell paper on backwards to retrace her without clearing the mistake, as the mark was in ink. Didn't bother discarding the cell paper due to product expenses, leaving this unintentional Easter egg looked like such. However, it removed from Blu-ray release. Yeah, so dumb IMDb trivia I forgot to mention. It's all terribly written, and the IMDb pages for the American Tail series are just indecipherable. But yeah, what it is, you can find this on YouTube pretty easily, and it's pretty like full on, like as far as like
it's got a head, it's shaking.
Yeah, it's like positioned to enter Tanya's mouth, like it's while she's mid like sing. It's only for a frame, and you won't see it if you're just watching it. But the yeah, gross. Also, I like the term penis doodle.
Padoodle. You should hide the penis doodle on the thumbnail for this episode.
Okay, I can do that. I can put it right in front of your mouth.
No.
Also on the IMDb trivia for this movie, owing to creative differences, Don Bluth parted ways with Steven Spielberg, whom he had directed the original Fievel and the New World in 1986. IMDb insists on calling An American Tail Fievel and the New World for some reason.
Oh, wow.
It's weird.
Is that what it's called in a different place?
Maybe, but like that's not like
a check.
Or maybe it's a working title. So yeah, he directed the original Fievel and the New World, as well as the first of 13 Land Before Time films. With no Bluth in sight for the sequel, Spielberg instead relied on Phil Nibelink, a former Disney animator, and Simon Wells, the grandson of science fiction author H.G. Wells, to direct the project. So Fievel Goes West is part of the H.G. Wells legacy.
Also known Fievel et Novus Mundus.
That sounds right.
Fievel in the New World in Australia.
Oh, maybe it's like a region,
and
region
Belgium and Canada.
Do you think it's a better title?
No. Well, I presume we have a title.
Yeah, we can talk about titles later on. Sure thing. But before that, Richard, let's discuss An American Tail, The Treasure of Manhattan Island from 1998. This is a while later, straight to DVD, directed by Larry Latham, who, as far as I could see, directed the fourth one as well, and that's about it. Wow. This does not have a critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, as is tradition, but it does have 31% audience score, not that that really matters. What is An American Tail, The Treasure of Manhattan Island about?
I don't want to take away saying what this is about from you.
Okay. Okay, well, and before I'll get into the juicy stuff, because this is...
I'll do the boring shit then.
Okay.
Oh, there's some fucking treasure map. They find a treasure map. This dead mouse is just clutching in his cold, dead hands. And as if it was a gun from Charlton Heston, they take it from the mouse. And yeah, apparently there's a big treasure underneath Manhattan. And so that's the kind of driving force for Fievel's story. And
the treasure ends up being... The treasure
was the friends they made along the way.
Sort of. It's the lost tribe of Native American mice that they then become friends with.
early on in the film, they say, which we mistakenly call Indians, and then they just call them Indians for the rest of the film.
Call them Indians. So before we get into what is one of the most interesting straight-to-DVD animated movies I think we've ever covered on the podcast, I do want to address the jaw-dropping addition to the canon that this film puts forward, which is the ripe for podcast discussion reveal that Fievel Goes West was a dream. He dreamt it. It was a dream that Fievel had. How many other podcasts in the world do you think have covered the American Tail movies? Could this be a Cult Popture exclusive that one of the movies isn't actually canon? So for those who haven't seen it, right at the start, we're back in New York again. And it's like, oh, that's interesting because the last film ended in Colorado. And the Mousekowitzes are being served breakfast and Fievel comes out and is like, I dreamt I was a gunslinger in the Old West. And they're like, sure, yeah, like that'll ever happen. And then it's like, huh? So the whole thing is written off as a dream sequence. And when I was looking up the Wikipedia list for prequels last week, because the genre I got given for my $1 genre short film, where I make a short film every month, this month is prequel, so I was looking up other prequels. I did spy an American Tail 3 and 4 on that list, and I thought, oh, interesting. I hadn't seen them yet, and both take place in New York, so I was like, makes sense that they'd be a prequel to Fievel Goes West. And even on the Wikipedia page for Fievel Goes West, there's a paragraph dedicated to this whole thing, which reads, a piece of dialogue from Fievel in the former appears to retcon Fievel Goes West as a dream the character had. But many fans would prefer to see both direct-to-video films as prequels that take place before Fievel Goes West, with the dialogue being taken as foreshadowing.
Well, no, so do you know what actually is interesting? So the order of the films goes 1... This is my theory. Goes 1... 4, 2, 3, because 4 ends with him going to sleep, and they say "Sweet dreams, Fievel," and then he dreams Fievel Goes West, and then wakes up and experiences the third one.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, like I don't care what fans would rather believe, and I'm sorry. This is canon. What do you want me to say? It's not my fault. It's canon. The word prequel is dotted all over the Wikipedia page for Treasure of Manhattan Island. It's categorized as both an American prequel film and a direct-to-video prequel. And one of the random sentences under the release section reads, "This prequel premiered in the United Kingdom on November 1998. And look, I'm sorry to all the Fievel Goes West heads out there, but this really just looks like desperate retconning from fans who really like, no, it's just like, it's, you can't change canon because you don't like it. Fievel Goes West was a dream. It's not in the canon. It didn't happen. No. I just think that's like the craziest thing I've seen in one of the relationship between like a lesser sequel and its original. It's like, it didn't happen. It's not real. What did you think of this film before we get into the meat and potatoes of it?
I really liked how apolitical it was.
Yeah, it's just
there's
just
no
a
real
good
villain.
story.
There's just people just trying to do their jobs, you know?
Yeah. Look, I'm not here to reveal that this film is an underrated gem, or that it needs a cultural reevaluation, or that I even particularly liked it. It's still a cheap straight-to-video sequel at the end of the day. However, man, this has got to be the most politically enlightened animated movie we've ever watched for the podcast. And it came out 24 years ago.
It's like, crazy that people still had unions back then.
So if you haven't seen it, everyone, check out, this film is nuts. It literally shows a like echelon of bourgeoisie mice, elite, exploiting and underpaying the working mice for their labor. And then when the working class, they catch on and they start demanding their fair wage, the wealthy mice insist that this is all actually the fault of the Native American mice. So they're literally like blaming quote unquote foreigners. They're not foreigners, but And a citywide manhunt or mouse hunt begins for the Native American mouse whom the Mousekowitzes have taken under their wing. On top of this, Papa Mousekowitz is once again depicted as having an absolutely shithouse time in America. Like, he hates it, right? He hates his job. He hates the mouse he's become. He's having to lick the boots of the wealthy mice elite, and he looks depressed all the time. He even explains at one point during the hunt for the Native American mouse that violence like this was why he left Russia. Fievel also has his own moment of disillusion when they find the Native American mouse tribe underground, and he grapples with the fact that the country was colonized and stolen from the Native American mice. And there's also a scene where they throw tomatoes at a cop mouse. Like, it is so crazy. Like, you know, I'm not blind to, like, these political ideas being prevalent for, you know, hundreds of years, but, like, to see them feel so relevant and so pertinent in a movie from 1998, a straight-to-DVD children's movie from 1998, is bananas. The movie ends with Fievel's papa forming a workers' union and the villains agreeing amongst themselves that they're forced to negotiate with, quote, the riffraff to avoid a strike. This movie talks about strikes. And these themes are so mature, and for what? I reckon less than 500 adults in the world have seen this movie. The rest of its audience is like little children that they put the movie on and leave the room, you know? Like,
That's
so
an
weird.
Insane call to make.
I was being hyperbolic. But I do think this, I'm inspired to make a Letterboxd list for this of like straight to DVD sequels that have more to offer than what you might expect. And I'd chuck Beethoven's Big Break on there as well as the other one that I always think about being like, this didn't need to be as like thought out as it is.
Beethoven didn't need to go that hard, but it did for us. It didn't need to serve so much content. But yeah, it is crazy. I mean, if anything, it's depressing that these themes are still so pertinent.
Right. Yeah, American Tail 3 didn't change the world.
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that, like, you know, you should be able to watch a movie from 24 years ago and go, thank God we don't have to deal with those issues anymore.
Right, no, totally.
But they're worse.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it is funny, like on the scale of, like, what upsets Papa Mousekowitz, it's like your son dying twice or having to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's wild that this film goes borderline like communist like theory. Like, we have nothing to lose but our mousetraps. Robert Pardy from the TV Guide, of all reviews to pull for this film, he gave the film 2 out of 5 stars and wrote, although the bright and bubbly animation lacks depth, these cute little vermin have just enough personality to make tykes unaware that they're being spoon-fed ethnic harmony aphorisms. An aphorism is a pitty observation which contains a general truth, which is a very white man way to describe, like, colonization.
So, like, I hate, like, pretentious movie, like, reviews like that.
TV Guide reviews for straight-to-DVD children's films.
So the writer of this film, just fun fact, also wrote The Land Before Time 7, The Stone of Cold Fire. Which is one that I weirdly remember.
Is that the one with aliens in it?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, it was a meteorite. Yeah,
there's like alien dinosaurs in it.
Yeah.
Grace Montgomery of Common Sense Media. Have you heard of Common Sense Media?
Is this like a like for parents, don't teach your kids about certain things?
Yeah. So Grace Montgomery of Common Sense Media felt that the politically sensitive elements depicted in the film are out of place for An American Tail, and recommended that your kids would be better off to stick with the original An American Tail and skip this one. So a lot of people did not like this confronting message that was put in this. It's like a Trojan horse, man. Like, it is crazy that this, like, it feels like there was like a coordinated effort to put this like socialist message into a kids
Mm.
film, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll grow up instilled with these beliefs. Some would call it brainwashing, I guess, because I agree with the message. I would not.
I'm still just looking at Len Uli's IMDb page, who wrote the film. So his first writing credit is from 1976 for Holmes and Yo-Yo, which is a TV series. But then and then didn't do anything until 1988 when he wrote the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh TV series. There's some credits on that, and then has worked pretty steadily until like this year. He's still working.
Wow.
He's must be old as fuck. But he's. Yeah, he wrote Octonauts Above and Beyond, the VeggieTales show from this year. Yeah, I mean, good on him. Like,
Common Sense Media must love VeggieTales, eh?
Oh yeah,
They
yeah.
they probably have no
not
notes.
the 2 episodes he wrote this year: Larry Boy and the Menacing Mushroom, and Larry Boy and Awful Alvin's Grudge.
Dude, Larry Boy was some of the best VeggieTales episodes.
Really?
Larry Boy episodes rock. The first VeggieTales I ever saw when I was a kid was Larry Boy and the Fib from Outer Space.
Who's Larry Boy for?
Well, Larry the Cucumber is the cucumber who hosts the show, and Larry Boy is like his Bartman-esque superhero alter ego.
But not as edgy, of course.
No. It's more of a Batman-esque, I guess, but he looks like Batman. So
yeah, right, yeah.
I've got some more dumb IMDb trivia for this film, Richard. This is from the IMDb trivia section for Treasure of Manhattan Island. Tony, who's one of who's like Fievel's best friend, who he meets in the first film and then is conspicuously absent from Fievel Goes West. Tony pursuing the very young Lenape, I think that's the tribe name, Princess Chelena, which is the Native American Indian mouse character. So I'll start the sentence again now that I've provided enough context. Tony pursuing the very young Lenape Princess Chelena, while his real girlfriend Bridget was quietly withdrawn from this film, was often questioned by fans. According to history, men were often womanized by indigenous woman stereotypes, except Chelena appears to be a young girl mouse masquerading as an indigenous maiden. Despite this is infidelity to the point, Bridget's withdrawal and silence from this film, while this was illustrated, owes to the presence of the then child actor Thomas Dekker, who was victimized when he was much younger. Despite being unseen, Bridget was quietly hinted at by Little Fievel's angry look toward Tony while witnessing his infidelity. What a salad that is. This is what I'm talking about. It's all written like this, where you've forgotten the start of the sentence by the time you get to the end of the sentence. Another piece related to that, many fans have taken the sequence where Tony blushes after being kissed on the cheek by Chelena as an unexpected romantic sequence. As a result, from history, the skin color is attributed to blushing because of being kissed by women, except Chelena is a young girl and is not a romantic kiss, though Tony took it as such, but it's more a thank you kiss after being rescued. This was also used on Peter Pan, 1953. During production, it would not be used on Fievel since he's too innocent and is voiced by an actual child actor. What do you think of that?
It's pretty dumb.
And last piece of dumb IMDb trivia, and another dramatic plot twist for a franchise that I would have thought would have had very little to talk about going in. Director Larry Latham believed it was the decision of upper management to nullify an American Tail Fievel Goes West as a dream reference, so people would be, quote, free to reconstruct any mythology in any order. This decision was later changed for an American Tail, The Mystery of the Night Monster, eliminating every character and elements as replacing them with new ones due to political reasons.
Wow.
So if you could make sense of any of that, isn't that surprising?
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia...
Those late Clinton years, they changed it.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, following a 6-year hiatus for an American Tail series, Universal kicked off a $15 million marketing campaign to reignite interest in the franchise with re-releases of the first 2 films leading up to the release of this one, with the 4th installment scheduled for the following June. The mandate for the series, as dictated by the then president of Universal Worldwide Home Entertainment, Louis Viola, was, quote, to create the same value and success for an American Tale as the studio did with The Land Before Time. Apparently, though, this film was so poorly received that they halted the plan to give the series 1,000 sequels, which is crazy because I think this is the best American Tail movie. Well, it's kind of is.
I don't think any franchise needs 1,000 sequels, though.
But isn't that interesting that I could so see there being 13 American Tail sequels?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
it reeks of it.
Yeah, especially the more the next one than this one, but they it starts to feel like, I remember specifically Land Before Time, The Great Day of the Flyers, I think it was. That was like, this just feels like a long episode of a TV show.
Totally.
That would be, there'd be 15,000 episodes of. You know, and it's like, at a certain point, I don't mind that a franchise like this starts to feel like that. They don't need to all have political uprisings. I mean, there's still plenty of subtext and the mystery of the night monster, but it's just it's even harder to put my finger on. Maybe it's like stakes being lower, or just the way that it's very episodic kind of plot.
I think the Day of the Flyers feels like a gimmicky bottle episode concept. I think that's what it is. Yeah. An American Tail, The Mystery of the Night Monster, came out the next year in 1999, also directed by Larry Latham. No critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, but this one does have a 40% critic score, putting it above its superior the third film, Treasure of Manhattan Island. What is this film about? You said that there's still subtext. I would love to hear what that is.
Well, this one's all about fake news.
Yeah, right. I did write that down. That's if I'm grasping at something, that's what it is. It's certainly not as like heavy.
Yeah, it's not as heavy, but it's about truth to power, freedom of press.
We can. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Well, what is about plot beat to plot beat?
Well, I can't go through every plot beat. We'll be here for bloody hours. But it's about this. They get involved in like the newspaper, and then there these mice keep on disappearing in holes all over New York City at night, and then Fievel imagines this massive cat on fire that must be gobbling them all up because it has a mousetrap for a tongue, and then it turns out it's just this dog that's just being a cunt.
This poodle. Yeah. And so Fievel joins forces with like a journalist. Tiger's been in all of these, by the way. He's just such an unnotable character.
Well, he becomes a cop in the last one, doesn't he?
But then isn't one at the start of this.
Because it's set before
You are so right. That's such a good theory. I thought this was a bit of a letdown. People in the Discord were saying how like, oh, is this going to be a Gold Star franchise where all of them... Yeah, a Gold Star denotes there's no weak one. I'm sorry, I think this is the weakest one. I think this lets it down. I think...
it's not by much. It's not a...
Well...
it's not a fall from grace.
Right. I mean, after the potent political themes of the third film, I was looking forward to seeing what was here. And while, there is stuff in there...
Were you really?
I really was, Richard. It's the same director. Why wouldn't it be?
Same writer as well.
Yeah!
But it's just like I feel like it's a lot to ask for an American Tail to do that twice.
I didn't ask for it once. It gave it to me without me asking for it, without me expecting it.
Who's asking for this? Who's asking for a political American Tail 3?
I think its message is less about any sort of, truth to power, though, and it's more like, don't be scared of the dark, kids. Monsters aren't real. Don't worry.
Dangerous message to teach kids.
If you've seen the previous one, monsters are real, and they're Mr. and Mrs. Moneybags in the White House. Michael
Clintons.
Michael Scheinfeld of Common Sense Media had something to say about this film. He gave it a positive review compared to the previous installment, describing it as a mystery with spunk, courage, and heart. Hope there's not too much spunk in it, though, because then it probably wouldn't be appropriate for children. There's music in all of these movies. They're all musicals. And while, other than somewhere out there...
They say they're all musicals. They all have like one song in them, or one or two songs.
This one is 3.
Yeah, 3 is 1 or 2. It's 1 and 2.
Other than Somewhere Out There and to a much lesser extent No Cats in America, I don't think any of the songs are particularly notable. They're not bad, they're just like, well, whatever. But, except for this one, where the songs fucking suck. I thought the songs sucked in this one.
Right, okay. I was like, shit, where is he going with this?
The last song especially in this movie is called Who Will, and it's like this awful early 90s...
All the other songs are like a little bit called Who Will, but this one's especially called Who Will.
Stop picking on me and pick on the films. This is like an awful early 90s saccharine ballad they sing to a wolf to try convince him to join their fight for freedom or whatever it is. It just sucks. I'm going to play a little segment of it here. It's like...
If you don't help your friends when they need befriending, who will? When nothing goes right and everything's wrong, when the days are too cold and the nights are too long.
If you won't be there to stand and be strong, who will?
You gotta be tough
And forthright and square.
You can't hide your head and pretend you're not there.
if we don't fight for what's right and what's fair. Who will?
Everyone has a hero hiding deep inside, waiting to appear.
It's the most boring sounding
Yeah,
type
I don't
of
remember.
music.
It's no I Do Believe in Christmas. It's not that kind of bad.
No, exactly. Richard,
And
how,
it is
how
Christmas
about...
time, and I do believe in Christmas. I believe in love.
Thank you. Well, how about we pour ourselves a nice cup of peppermint cocoa, peppermint hot chocolate, or perhaps an eggnog, and let's settle down by the warm, toasty fireplace in the problematic corner.
I'm actually all good.
Okay.
I'll just have some water.
Okay.
Ooh, I bet this didn't age well. Let's get a laugh at someone else's expense. I have to warn you, this might get obscene. This the problematic corner where ain't nothing PC.
Well, welcome to Problematic Corner, where we discuss things in this movie that haven't aged well. And this maybe can act as a problematic corner for the whole series, because it does have kind of a horrible relationship with like ethnic stereotypes and things. In Five All Goes West, there's a bunch of Native American mice that
Don't belong in the film.
and yeah, right, totally.
It's problematic because it's like, ugh.
Yeah, it's a non
Minorities.
sequitur.
Yeah.
And they declare that Tiger is their god in the Treasure of Manhattan Island. As you know, wonderful as some of its stuff in it is, there's also, you know, it's still Robert Carradine is playing a Native American mouse, etc., etc.
And he jerked himself to death.
Yeah. Well, he didn't do
No,
that.
that's David Carradine.
No, it is David Carradine then. It's the one that
okay,
jerked
right,
himself to death.
Yeah. He got what was coming to him after his cultural appropriation.
And in this film, all of the like goodwill from the previous film is just really squandered with a really rough depiction of a Chinese mouse family,
Oh, yeah.
which it's so bad. She's clearly voiced by a white actress, and she has like this broken English accent,
Very
replacing L's with
conspicuous
R's.
the LR. Switch,
Yeah. And it's like the LR switch, which I think she only says one word that's switched on. But it just made me go like, oh god, you nearly scraped by with just this being like a little bit like, but
just
that
the
really
funny accent. Isn't it?
but it's so bad, and it would be so easy to not depict this. And like we're laughing, and maybe we shouldn't be laughing, but the thing I think that bummed me out the more I thought about it was that like there's probably like Chinese kids who really love the American Tail movies, and they chuck them on because they're fans of the little Fievel mouse.
That's
And
what
then
they
they
call
get
it in China.
little Fievel mouse.
Yeah.
And then they get to that scene, and you must just feel so like backstabbed by the people telling your stories, you know. I don't know. And that's that's the horrific tale of American. That's the real American tale.
Wow,
It's like
yeah.
horrific cultural
That actually really makes
appropriation.
you think.
I've got some more dumb IMDb trivia from the like just indecipherable sections of IMDb trivia sections for the series. Following the strict changes for this movie, background settings were redone, including the wall of the Mousekowitz's home, such as one of the pictures, like the large mouse swimming toward a woman showing only her bare shoulders, implying she's nude, as shown in An American Tale, The Treasure of Manhattan Island. It is removed from the wall due to being referenced to bestiality, if not detected and censored out from the previous movie. You had a fucking dick doodle in one of them. I think we can have the implication that someone's been drawn naked.
Yeah, well, I think common sense media would not like that.
Yeah, what do they have to say about it? Dumb IMDb trivia continues with Bridget was still grounded from appearing in this film, not only due to her actress's illness of cancer, but also due to the racist art, including the redskin blushing technique given to Tony Taponi in An American Tale, The Treasure of Manhattan Island, while then child actor Thomas Dekker was present. Tony's appearance became strictly professional, meaning he's grounded from falling for anyone else. I'm gathering scraps of what this is talking about. I think maybe there's a scene where the Native American mouse kisses Tony on the cheek and he blushes, and maybe that was seen as like a racist thing because his skin turns red.
Right, yeah.
I think that's what it's saying, but it feels like it's referencing a controversy that I couldn't find information on anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm picking up on. And then it also says that he's professional in this film. Tony is, meaning he's grounded from falling for anyone else. The word grounded is used multiple times in this piece of trivia, and I don't know what it's meaning.
It seems like it's a translation error because it's like grounded as in like forbidden. Unable to,
or absent, maybe, because Bridget was still grounded from appearing in the film. I think
it'd be like
Bridget played the Native American mouse, I think, and she did die of cancer, so maybe that's what it is.
Oh, she's in the ground. She's literally 6 feet under.
Oh, did you have anything else you wanted to say about this movie or this franchise before we start the American Tale?
I want to talk about
down toward
titles.
We can talk about titles, Richard, because we talk about titles a lot on this podcast. Firstly, what do you think of Fievel in the New World?
It's cute. I mean, yeah, it always seems ambitious to put a character's name in the title of like the first film of a franchise.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think as well, the only other thing I would note is like Night Monster is a crazy spooky thing to put in your title for your children's film.
yeah. Like just introducing to kids that there's a concept of the Night Monster.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you remember a discussion we had about the American
do.
Tale franchise?
It's written down.
Okay,
I got in trouble. I don't know when it was. I feel like it was.
Neither. I can't remember if it was in person or like if we were talking, if it was over text or what.
It was on pod that I said it, and then Stran Cole, one of our listeners, messaged me or commented somewhere, I think maybe in the Discord, saying how insane of a take I had on this thing.
That's
so,
right, yeah.
The story is at some point in the past on the podcast, I mistook An American Tale, the title. We were talking about it for some reason, and I mistook it being Tale, not Tail.
Because your it might have been during Barbie and a Mermaid Tale,
right?
But you were like, because Mermaid Tale is just Tale, is it?
I don't know. I don't want to get into it.
yeah. Barbie and a Mermaid Tale is Tale, and I think we had a discussion about that. And then you said, like, An American Tale is not a pun. And it was like, what? And then there was this big discussion, and you argued this whole thing about how An American Tale isn't a pun title. And then eventually, I remember being like, AJ, American Tale is spelled Tail. And you were like, oh, is it? Okay, then it's a pun, yeah.
My issue with it is that mice aren't the only fucking animals that have tails. Like, it's not an attribute specific to mice. So you can't... Why you do it?
Elle Woods isn't the only person who's blonde.
What a... I don't even know what to say to that. Like, I guess, like, if you were to ask me like what's the most noticeable feature on a mouse, I would probably say I'd say the ears.
Well, you're insane. I don't even know what to
I'm
say
not
to
insane.
that.
Whatever. The ears are way more iconic on a mouse than the tail.
No,
Like-
disagree. Hard disagree.
You do not. You do not disagree.
I
What do you
do.
mean? Why do you think a tail is more
You
iconic
asked me
on
to
a...
draw a mouse. I'm going to draw a tail before I draw the ears.
I don't believe you.
Unless I'm drawing specifically Mickey Mouse. If
Right.
I was to draw, if you said you've 4 seconds, draw a mouse, I would make sure I had the tail before I made sure I had ears.
I think we're going to have to turn to the Discord for this and see what they think about it.
Yeah, everyone, you've got 4 seconds, draw a mouse. No, you've got 2 seconds, draw a mouse. See what you get. You're getting, with me, you're getting like an oval and a line to
A
represent
dash.
the tail.
Right, okay, fine. In terms of like slapdash, I think what that's more communicating is the size of the mouse, not the tail specifically. If you had 1 second, you'd just draw an oval.
Well, no, but I think the tail is so important for the imagery of a mouse because the tail is such an important part of it and an important part of the line of it, and like
Okay.
the silhouette of it. I'm sorry, AJ.
Okay.
I'm not just being a dick. I do genuinely think that a tail is a more important part of a mouse than the ears. If we're talking mouse iconography,
Let's try
not
a test.
Mickey
Okay.
Mouse. I want to make that clear. I'm not talking
I'm
about
gonna
Mickey
name
Mouse.
an animal, and you're gonna name what everyone would probably say its most iconic feature
Okay.
is. Okay. A giraffe.
Neck,
A lion.
mane,
Okay. A cow.
udders,
I would have accepted horns or udders. Yeah.
horns.
I agree it's udder, but I was to be honest, I was trying to think of a horned animal and so that you would say horns and ended up mentioning an animal.
I was
that has
because
a
I
way
was
more-
going to say the pattern on the cow.
Right. Okay. No, that's an acceptable answer as well. I think
keep
it
going, this is
might. Well, I don't necessarily have answers for all of them. Is that okay?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
more of like, what are you going to say as opposed to what I'm expecting you to say. A crocodile.
Crocodile is just general shape.
Yeah.
I feel
Right.
like. Or like the flatness
Yeah. Yeah.
and color.
Or the teeth, maybe. The
Yeah, I was
going
gonna
to
say
snoot.
teeth. Yeah. I guess the snout, which is just the part of the general shape. Yeah.
An antelope.
The antelope have horns, right? Or have like
Antlers.
antlers. Yeah.
I was going for antlers.
Yeah. Because when I pictured an antelope, I pictured like the slender legs used for running. But then because there's like a few different animals that kind of have that general body of an antelope, and I was trying to remember if I mean they are called antlerlopes, so it should make sense they have antlers. But yeah, what's the other ones that don't have antlers that look like antelope?
I don't know. Well, Richard, what if I told you all of those animals that we just mentioned also have tails?
Yeah, but they're not as iconic as mouses. Is that what you were trying to do? Is that your big point? That these things have tails?
I'm saying that if you're going to make your film title a pun reflecting the central animal, it should be
Yeah, you pick an animal that you think, okay, you play this little game that you've invented with someone. You pick an animal that they go tail as the answer to that. You proved my point.
No, I guess that is what I'm saying, but I disagree that tail is more iconic than big mouse ears.
Okay, well, let's play. Okay. Elephant.
Ears or trunk, I guess.
Ears!
I'm just
Ears!
I'm just so attracted to ears. I'm so fixated on ears. Like,
Ears! That is insane. That is certified. You lost all. Do you think that, like, if this was an elephant, it would be called an American ears or an American trunk?
No, it'd be called an American trunk. I was flummoxed because we were saying ears so much. And
Rhino.
Then you said, horn.
There you go. You think horn, you think fucking rhino. Hippo.
I don't think you think tail when you see
Hippo.
mouse. I don't think people
Hippo.
think that. Hippo, I don't know, the big fucking mouth. the big
panda.
cubic teeth.
Panda.
The eye spots.
Cat.
Tail.
I feel
Fur?
like cat is whiskers.
Ah, yeah, but yeah, maybe.
Dog.
A tongue, maybe, or snout, nose. These animals are too
Mouse.
broad. They have.
Mouse.
That's why cats and dogs are ears.
No,
so.
you took too long to think it's tail.
This is why it is tail.
Snake.
Uh,
Snake, I will give you. Snake is almost entirely tail.
I think cats and dogs, they've become the most popular pets because they just have no commanding feature as opposed to other
Yeah, but it
animals.
is funny though that like dogs have whiskers, but I feel like cats so iconically have whiskers.
Yeah, totally.
Ears.
Well,
for
I
an
didn't
elephant,
think we
you
were going to
fucking
talk
son
about.
of a gun.
I said it by. You're not allowed to hold that over me because I said it by accident.
No, but the whole point of the game is what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
All right,
What the
fine.
fuck is going on upstairs
so
in AJ's
desperately-
head that he doesn't just
tell
go,
you.
trunk?
I'll tell you what was going on. I didn't want to, but I wanted to move on. But now I will tell you. I was in the middle of talking about ears. Then you said elephant, and I thought, an elephant is often compared to a mouse. You know, like in cartoons and stuff, right? Like they're
Right.
like it's like a big mouse. It's like a big mouse.
You
and
could
so
have
I was
just
like,
said Dumbo or something. But instead you're like, well, you know how elephants are often compared to mice.
I was just being honest, Richard. What more do you want from me?
I
me
want
to
you
lie?
to admit that mice have tails. That's
I will
That's
never.
the argument.
I will never do it. Alrighty.
Sound off in the comments.
We also should we do meeting of the elders now?
Like Fievel's iconic character design doesn't even like he has his ears like pushed down, but I feel like they're not Mickey Mouse ears where they make the most of they exaggerate that feature. Are you also
you
just
ready
googling
to-
what mice look like?
Yeah, I've googled describe a mouse and a computer mouse. God damn.
Yeah. And like what does a computer mouse have?
A little
A
clitoris
tail.
in the middle of
a tail.
Sorry, that was a bit of a blue joke for it otherwise. All right, this description doesn't even mention tail. Just
Oh, fuck off, it doesn't.
Mice have a slender body, blunt or tapered muzzle, scantily haired, prominent ears, narrow hind feet with bald soles, and sharp small claws.
Okay, see, like the description I'm reading says, a mouse is a small rodent. Characteristically, mice are known to have a pointed snout, small rounded ears, a body length, scaly tail, and a high
But
breeding rate.
it mentions ears first.
No, but because it's leading to the saving the best for last time, Brian.
I've never been more curious to see what the Discord is going to say about this. The question, if you're listening and you've forgotten the moot, the question at the center of this is, what is the most iconic feature of a mouse? Okay, that's the question that we want you to answer in the Scushy American Tail group.
I'm gonna like assign roles for this. I'm gonna like
team ears,
team tails or
tail.
team ears. I genuinely, this is the last episode for the year. We're not back until like February. I want this to divide the fan base for the next 2 months.
The point I was making was that the title, if you're going to do a mouse pun in the title, it should be something more specific.
So
to
you
mice.
think it should be called an American tail, TALE?
You know what it should be? Would appease us both. An American tail.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
No, that's bullshit. Fuck you.
What do you fuck you? Do you want to? Should we read the
I don't
meaning
want
of
to
the
do
elders?
anything.
This is so stupid. I guess this is the true American tale. This divide.
Just
you know?
hating each other for over the stupidest things.
All right, welcome everybody to Cult Elders. This is a segment where if you donate to our Cult Elder tier on patreon.com/cultpopture, we ask you what you think of the movies, and you get to tell us. So this isn't a little secret Discord server. So over here we've got a bunch of comments. Let's see. Dan went west. says, huge fan of Five All Goes West. Haven't seen it since I was a kid. Uh-oh. That's always a good sign. But boy, did I play that VHS on repeat throughout my childhood. I didn't watch the original nearly as much, but one thing I really appreciated both is for educating kids on anti-Semitism and the struggles of immigrants in America. Cheese also says, watched Five All Goes West so many times. I hope it holds up. Some great voice acting, funny jokes. It rules. I mean, I think maybe this would hold up if you liked it as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
As someone who watched it for potentially the first time, I don't know.
Did you say potentially again?
I don't think so. If it's funnier, then yeah. I did. Do you want to read the next one?
Most disappointing Brent says, my brain incorrectly remembers John Candy playing Tiger, no matter how much I read that it was Dom DeLuise. Do y'all, Brent from Texas, have any Mandela effect things like that where you can't unlearn the wrong info? I mean, my one is that David DeLuise was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, whenever I watch, and we talked about this when we got it for Patreon, for Generic Movie Podcast, whenever I watch the movie Clue, I'm like, I forgot Susan Sarandon was in this. And then the credits roll, and I'm like, it wasn't Susan Sarandon. It's just a woman that's clearly trying to look like Susan Sarandon. Bluth My Don says, Dom DeLuise is so intrinsically tied to Don Bluth that I have a hard time seeing anyone else in a lot of roles in his films. None of the below were Dom DeLuise, but I always think they are for a second. If they were, I think about these a lot.
For a second if they were.
Oh, right. And he's got a picture of other Don Bluth characters like the guy from Titan AE and the guy from Anastasia and the guy...
Cheese says Five All Goes West was a regular watch when I was a kid. I really loved it. The scenes with Wyatt Burt, voiced by James Stewart, are just so good.
I agree. I do. I think they are good. Can you read the big ass?
Yeah, Bluth My Don says, first of all, let me just say, the tail is the most iconic part of a mouse.
How did he do that?
I'm gonna wait. Jess?
Jess is not an impartial observer.
What's the most iconic part of a mouse? Huh? She said hold on.
She said hole.
Jess?
The hole of a mouse.
Just getting input from my fiance.
Oh, that's canon on the podcast
canon on the
now.
pod now. Jess, hello. What's the most iconic part of a mouse? Okay, Jess said teeth. All right, you can go back downstairs.
I'd probably put teeth before tail. I'd go ears, teeth, tail.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, because they have little buck teeth when they're depicted sometimes.
Or the ears.
Okay, no, it's not important what Jess says.
I heard that. It's recorded. I'd go ears, teeth, then I'd go the concept of cheese. And then I'd go tail.
No. All right.
It should be called an American cheese.
Okay, I can get behind American cheese. But ears also aren't specific to mice.
But crucially, I'm not saying it should be called an American ears. I'm not saying the pun should be ear-based either.
No,
I don't even like puns.
I know. So why do you want it to be called an American tail so bad?
I don't want it. I was joking.
Right. Bluth My Don says the animation of the first movie is absolutely incredible, like some of the best pre-CGI animation I've ever seen. Just some awesome set pieces and fluidity to the animation that felt nicely stylized and genuinely fun. The most dated part is ironically the somewhat groundbreaking 3D models, which are actually rotoscoped objects that are filmed. Interesting. Memories of watching this film fall beyond my most distant memories, like a blur at the precipice of having cohesive memories. Never Say Never stuck in my head. That's interesting, just talking about the Justin Bieber documentary. And struck me with an ancient wave of nostalgia. And while Somewhere Out There was also good, the other two songs, particularly Tigers, were pretty awful. And honestly, you'd have to be a heathen to have enjoyed them.
I'm
Overall,
really struggling to gauge what Bluth by Don is like, what his attitude is toward this series.
overall, it was a good time, and I really enjoyed it. It was a bit frustrating to have all those close calls with Fievel almost running into his family. And
Agreed.
did you notice that Fievel's infant sister isn't really in the film after they pass through immigration? It's a mistake brought on by a troubled production, apparently. Rather unfortunate implications out of that context, though. Do you have more information on that?
Well, when I was saying how there was a truncated version of the original script. That
The
is
baby
one of the
dies
things-
and they cut that
Well,
scene.
the baby's in the sequels, so the baby's just, I guess, hidden somewhere.
And I watched Fievel Goes West, which, MO, is a much better film. While the animation is really good, the absence of Bluth can be felt throughout. The voice acting
Wait, so are
is...
you saying that's a good thing? You keep saying good thing, and because of good thing, bad thing.
Yeah.
Like-
the voice acting is great! Like, really great! Cheese, Cleese, and Jimmy's... They didn't say Cheese. Cleese and Jimmy Stewart are both fantastic in their roles, and the singing voice of Danya is about as good as Cleese Cat is acting like it is. I didn't like Tiger explaining most of the jokes, like, oh, we get it. Him falling off the rock and saying, I hurt myself, was hilarious. So, didn't like him explain the jokes, but the bit where he falls off and explains what happened was hilarious. The lady saying, pussy, 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 while strangling Cleese Cat between her breasts was odd. That final
but I
scene
liked
with
it.
that final scene with Fievel and Wiley Burp was film magic.
However,
Question: how exactly does Fievel know about the existence of Wiley Burp? This was before film.
don't know.
Books.
He came to him in a dream, within the dream that the Bible Goes West already was.
Yeah, like, you know when you have dreams and it's like you have knowledge in the dream that you've just never learnt.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, I knew because of this thing. You're like, I don't remember being told that in the dream. RCG2 out December 15th says, I have only ever seen the first one in elementary school over a few rainy days. Liked it a lot. Gotten bits and pieces of the other ones through TV broadcasts throughout the years. One thing that has stuck out to me is Fievel's design is so good. Instantly iconic design for a mascot character. Yet there is no peep of the little dude nowadays. Bring him back. Fievel could kick Mickey Mouse's ass any day. Yeah, interesting about the iconic design. Yeah, it feels like something people should dress up as, you know, like chuck a
The
hat
big hat,
on,
the big
and
fucking
then,
floppy hat. Yeah,
and then a tail, and you're good to go. You don't really need anything else.
Don't need anything else. I
Just
don't think.
to show that you're a mouse.
No, that's a good point in my favour, actually. If you were to dress up as a mouse, you wouldn't need the tail more than you'd need the ears. If you put the ears on, everyone's going to know you're a mouse.
I feel like
Put the tail on, people are going to be like,
is he a
depending on
giraffe? That's an interesting point, but I feel like that's more because of, like, that says more about how humans read other humans' faces.
Okay.
Like, because of, like, the iconography of, like, dressing up as something is just so lazy that you can just pop, you know, like the famous joke from Mean Girls, I'm a mouse, duh, she has the ears. But I feel like, yeah, that's more about how we, you know, read another human being and just, you know, you look for something immediately available in the face area. I think if you were to...
What are you talking about?
I think if you were to dress up as a photorealistic mouse, you need an anatomically correct mouse. You
need both then.
Oh, well, more so the tail, I would argue.
I love reading the Cult Elders segment and realizing, like, these guys would be better at the podcast than me. Like, Bluth My Don's got so many more talking points here than I had. But well done, everybody. Great reading it all. Meeting adjourned. And let's move on to continue the franchise, where we pitch our own sequels to An American Tail. But before we do that, as is the way with these sorts of things, An American Tail spawned a media empire that extends well beyond the films. This includes a Saturday morning cartoon TV series called Fievel's American Tales, which interestingly adapts or adopted the Old West aesthetic instead of reverting back to Manhattan like the last two films. It aired in 1992 between Goes West and Treasure of Manhattan, though I suppose this means the entire show is also a dream.
Yeah.
It ran for one season of 13 episodes. Wiley Burp is absent from the series because Jimmy Stewart had retired by this point, and out of respect, they did not show the character.
Aww. So, did you also see the other character that's not in Fievel's American Tales? Tony Taponi is not in there because Pat Music, the actress, was parenting her daughter Mae Whitman.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice.
She was a nepotism baby. Had no idea.
Nepotism from the empire you get from doing an American Tail sequels. There are also a few video games, including a point-and-click game based on the first two films called An American Tail, The Computer Adventures of Fievel and His Friends for the DOS in 1992. There was also a side-scrolling platformer adaptation of An American Tail, Fievel Goes West for the SNES in 1994, and another side-scroller called An American Tail, Fievel's Gold Rush for the Game Boy Advanced in 2002, and bizarrely, a PlayStation 2 game simply titled An American Tail, which was a 3D platformer based on the original movie and released in 2007. 9 years after the last movie and 21 years after the movie it was based on.
Do you know what's even more insane, bizarre about that? Is that An American Tail for PS2 is the cover image for An American Tail franchise on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I saw that as well. It's nuts. It's so weird. I'm so curious when stuff like this happens. Like even 2002, a game coming out is quite surprising for a series that finished in 1999. But like, because what are the rights holders for An American Tail doing that they have the the ability to make a video game based on a 21-year-old movie? Because no one is like going out and buying the movie because of the video. Like, it's not a tie-in game. It's so weird.
The
I can't
game
think
looks
of
quite fun. I'm looking at the An American Tail PS2 full game 1080p HD 100% walkthrough, no commentary, which is 40 minutes long, which doesn't bode well for the game. But
shorter than the movie.
yeah. That it's just it's a fun little thing. Fun little platformer.
Well, I think if I were more invested in this franchise, I'd suggest I continue the franchise like Fievel Goes North or Fievel Goes South, just to visit the different pulpy American direction stereotypes. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'd go Fievel Goes East, and he goes to
back to New York.
China.
Ah, nice. Well, I'd love to see the voice acting for that one.
Yeah.
If I was less invested, I'd probably pitch something satirical like Fievel Storms the Capitol, like,
nice.
What is America? But the franchise kind of already dips into what the truth of America is. So, like, this joke that I planned before watching them feels like it doesn't really apply now. Instead, though, I exist in the middle where I didn't hate these, nor did I love them. And so how can I make this franchise more appealing to me? An American Tail in space. I feel like if there were 13 sequels...
Like Pinocchio?
Yep, exactly. I feel like there could be one where they get on Sputnik or something like that and end up in space, An American Tail 2099. Fievel is frozen and wakes up in the distant future.
That was actually going to be part of my one, but you continue.
And finally, I've got A New Zealand Tale.
Oh.
Let's put it in New Zealand.
Yeah, and it's about a Kiwi.
Yeah. Who goes to New Zealand?
Yeah. That'd be called an American beak. An American large body.
Yeah. What's the most iconic thing on a Kiwi? Well, the large body, of course.
If Fievel, the machete order of American Tail that you watch 1 and then the sequel 4 and then he goes to sleep, dreams 2, I guess he wakes up in the third one. But if you don't use that order and he goes to sleep at the end of the fourth one, presumably to dream another spin-off, like the second one, that he wakes up in modern day.
Yeah.
And he slept through the Holocaust. And yeah, I don't know. There'd be something about
he ends up working in the White House.
yeah, he works in the White. He becomes president. He becomes mouse president.
Yes, and he's a tyrant.
Yeah, he's oh my god. He like yeah, it's a Trump allegory, but they use Fievel for it.
Nice. Well, Richard, all we have to do now is rank that franchise. So over on Letterboxd.com, we have a ranking of all the franchises we have ever watched on letterboxd.com/cultpopture. And if you go to our lists, there's one called FFF Ranking. Where do you think we should rank this puppy?
I think this belongs between the Rugrats movie and Predator.
What number is that?
76.
76. All right. Let me just check this.
Okay. Let me check my work.
So 76 we want to go to. So all right. So at 76 that places it right. So not as good as the Rugrats movie, but better than the Predator series as a whole. I'm happy with this. We're saying it's not as good as the Psycho series, High School Musical, or Spy Kids, but we are saying it's better than Predator, The Mighty Ducks, and Anchorman. Just above the Nymphomaniac constant.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm happy with that. So this is the 76th best franchise we've ever watched. And ladies and gentlemen and friends beyond the binary, that is film franchise Fortnights for 2022.
Yeah.
The podcast is not stopping. We'll be back next week with I think our Netflixmas episode, and then we'll be doing our usual yearly wrap-up episodes. But we will be back in the new year with a franchise we're maybe still deciding on, maybe already have decided on.
Maybe we've already recorded it.
If you
Maybe
enjoyed
we won't
this,
be back.
If you enjoyed this, please consider following us on Instagram and Twitter at CultPopture, and you can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/CultPopture, or you can join the Discord, which there is a link to in the show notes. Stay tuned, because after this music finishes, we'll be doing a post-credit scene where we answer someone's question. But that's it for the year, and that's it for An American Tale. Richard, somewhere out there, all dreams come true, including listening to this podcast.
Wow, with your tail.
Yeah, you listen with your tail. All right.
Welcome.
Along to
The
post-credit scene. This is a
segment.
At the end of each episode, if you donate $5 or more over at patreon.com/cultpopture, you get to give us something to talk about in this, the post-credit scene. And Richard, what is it and who's it from this week?
This one comes to us from Brent Taylor, who says the US lottery is at 1 billion this weekend. What are the first three things you'd do if you work 1 billion? I think that's probably supposed to be one. I know what yours would be.
What
You'd
would
eat yourself.
Yeah, right. Keep it all for myself.
Yeah.
Become what I sought to destroy.
No, you would eat yourself or kill yourself, or well, you'd just become evil, wouldn't you?
If I ate myself, would I get twice as big or disappear completely?
Yeah, who knows? First thing I would do would be get a lawyer. Before I even cash in the ticket, I would get a lawyer, an accountant, so that I can learn how to dodge taxes. No, I think, like, if I won
Not enough lawyers do that.
You need a criminal lawyer. I think the thing of, like, all these roundabout ways of, like, paying less tax. If I have $1 billion that I just got, like, I'll pay as much tax as you want me to. If at the end of this I'm left with a measly $100 million, that's more money than I would make in my life anyway. You can take. If I win $1 billion, I will pay $900 million in tax, and I will be fine.
I don't think Lotto is. You don't get tax from your Lotto though. Yeah, you do. You don't get tax from the Chase. I know that.
No, I'm pretty sure.
I would have thought that because it's winnings, it's exempt from.
Nah, the prizes are taxed up the wazoo. So that's the whole big thing about Oprah giving away like cars and stuff, is that now you have to pay tax on this prize you won, and so it bankrupts people. And now Mr. Beast is going through the same thing, and he says like, there's all these articles that come out being like, oh, Mr. Beast bankrupts someone because I gave them a private jet, and he's like, well, just sell the jet. It's like, you're giving someone the burden of selling a jet. Who do you sell a jet to?
Nice. If I won $1 billion,
what do you think of Mr. Beast? Sorry, I feel like this is something we haven't talked about.
I've heard enough bad shit about him to not trust him.
I just find him. He's so awkward to talk. Like his interactions with people. How is this guy the most subscribed to YouTuber who's like gonna be the first YouTube billionaire?
I actually know very little about him, to be honest.
He posts on my TikTok all the time, but like often, like very, very infrequently, it's actually his TikToks. I see a lot of people stitching with him or like reacting to him or trying to get his attention or something like that.
I didn't know who he was until he made his own Squid Game. I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, neither had I.
If I got $1 billion, I would like to think I've talked about this with people before. I want to work out like what is ethically the best thing I can do with it that would still result in like a nice, like be comfortable for the rest of my life. Sum.
Pay
like how much
million in tax? Yeah,
how much do I need to be comfortable? And how much can I keep to still be like, to not be seen as like exorbitantly greedy, and then I would give the rest to different charities.
I think
that's what I'd like to think I would do. I'm not as good of a person to say I would definitely do that. So that's what I'd like to
answer the like fun version of Brent's
job
of Brent's question, like what are the huge purchases I would make? It would be like your classic stuff like. And this isn't like the first three things, but I feel like this is the answer you want. Is like, it would be buying a house. I would deck it out with like a movie theater and stuff like that. There's probably like a business that I would like save or buy, like
Cold Popture. You want to buy Cold Popture?
Yeah, but because there's like
money.
I know in like in the state when I was in Seattle, they've got like this beautiful Cinerama building that's just gone under, and it's just like it's still there, but and I like because I did a little bit of reading about it, and it's like and it's like I would love to like save an old theater like that or something. I don't know if $1 billion would do that, but there's things like that would be I would try
$1 billion would do that.
Yeah, $1 billion is a fuck ton of money. I could fund a movie.
$10 million would do that.
I'd
save an old theater.
Saves to cost to save an old cinema, but you want something where it's like you can keep sinking money into it and keep it afloat, even though it's not making a profit. You know, you don't want to just like it's not going to just save itself and then you save it and then it will be fine. You're probably going to need to.
I would like to go traveling.
Yeah,
I think
travel
I would
would be a
spend some
big one
money
as
on
well.
that. I would like to go to some like like the big film festivals and things like that.
And then purchase one of the films.
Yeah,
and just release it like buy like Scorsese's new like the distribution rights for Scorsese's next film, and it just goes on the Cult Popture YouTube channel.
Yes. I would like to, like, I don't know if there's any, like, large, like, massive things I want. I do like being comfortable, though, and I like the occasional luxury, so maybe I'll just live a life of comfort.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, I would quit my job, but still do still keep all my film review contacts and, like, and just, like, still do that, just freelancing, essentially.
Yeah.
Be like, I don't work for you anymore. You work for me, essentially. That it's like I will work when it's convenient for me or when I feel like it, you know. And
like
all the junkets, rather than doing Zoom, they'll be like, oh hey, yeah, there's a junket out of New York in 3 days. I'll be like, cool, I'll be there.
Nice.
Because I don't care about the environment. I'm a regular Taylor Swift with my airfares.
Well, you could do a lot to fix the environment with $1 billion.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do for $1 billion to fix the environment? Elon Musk
I don't know, but someone will know, and I can just ask them.
You pay them to do it for you.
$1 billion.
I could pay God to fix everything.
I can't believe the American Tail episode is this long.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, thank you.
Yeah, well, it's not that the episode's so long; it's just got this really long tail on it.